I'm back. Hey, happy Tuesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is once again in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, shockingly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard, everyone. Today is Tuesday, November 11th, 2025. This is a live stream 1255. If you're not overly familiar with the show, let me point out, super casual around here. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news. And normally, we will actually dive on in for a first look at a game. Normally, tabletop role-playing game releases. Every once in a while, I might unbox a board game or tackle a topic related to our hobby, or maybe even just have an AMA and chew the fat with chat. But tonight, we are going to dive on in and take a peek at this massive Darkenhaven box set for 5e Dungeons & Dragons from our new friends over at Gooey Cube. And I am actually going to share how you can get a special holiday release from Gooey Cube absolutely free because you happen to watch the Gaming Gang. What can I tell you? So stay tuned for that. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Then, of course, because this is a live stream, that means there is chat available. Now, you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least an hour before you can take part in chat. But if you check that box and you want to say howdy, maybe get a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my very best to respond. First out the gate tonight is Semper Buffo. Kevin R. Smith is with us, as is Kevin King. Sean O'Donnell is also chiming on in, and I will not be surprised if possibly the lovely and talented Miss Sarah D is lurking in the shadows as one of our chat moderators. So yes, all last week I was on hiatus. Got to kick back, relax a little bit. I did share some news, did share some videos, but I also kind of kicked my feet up and kind of relaxed. So Lawrence McNabb from Gooey Cube suggested that, let's see, it's Samayan urine, somewhere around that. And of course, strangely enough, YouTube's still doing that kind of weird thing. So Kevin R. Smith says it's kind of weird. This channel's the only one that's continuing to do the weird sort of, oddball chat names. You know what it might be? It might be because I haven't done a new chat. Like there hasn't been a live stream for what, week and a half? Thereabouts. So kind of cool. I'm sure one of these days it'll go back to normal. Yeah, it is kind of odd. But don't know what I can tell you. Everybody. All right. I also should mention today is Veterans Day here in the United States. So I just want to take a moment to say how much I truly appreciate all of our veterans, including my father, and their service that they provided. So much appreciated. I know the madman, who has not popped into chat just yet, but is a regular, is one of our chat moderators, is also a veteran. Chris Lundgren is with us, popping on in from California. Very nice. All right, we got a huge show tonight. So let's not waste time. Let's jump right on into the news, because Fantasy Grounds announced that the popular virtual tabletop is now going to be absolutely free to play. I've got the skinny. Get all of the power with none of the cost with the completely free to use virtual tabletop that offers the world's largest catalog of officially licensed rule sets and games. Fantasy Grounds will get you prepped and ready to game in no time. Host your next game night with your friends. Preload modules to prep characters and campaigns beforehand, and enjoy automated game mechanic response as you play. Fantasy Grounds is a popular platform for playing a host of different role-playing games online. It's used by more than gamers worldwide to connect and play popular games such as Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, Starfinder, Vampire the Masquerade, Savage Worlds, Call of Cthulhu, and more. This type of program is commonly referred to as a virtual tabletop, or VTT, due to their ability to emulate various parts of an RPG session in a digital form. Now you can host games for and play with anyone, no license needed. This will include free rule sets for 2nd edition, 3.5, 4th edition, 5th edition, Dungeons and Dragons, Fate Core, Pathfinder, Pathfinder 2nd edition, Numenera, 1st edition, Starfinder. Yeah, I guess 2nd edition Starfinder hasn't been ported over yet. You'll get free data libraries with the SRD for D&D, basic, free rules, the 3.5 SRD, Fate Core's SRD, Pathfinder's SRD. You'll build and manage campaigns, including custom entries. You'll also get more than 200 free tokens with animals, characters, and monsters. Over 20 free battle maps for streets, caves, dungeons, and tunnels. Dozens of free full-color commissioned portraits by Mates Laurentio. I'm sure I butchered. I'm sure I butchered that name. Gee, and then I butchered the word butchered. It's back to the usual nonsense around here. There is Shockbolt GMW kit access with over 600 pieces of art for tiles, effects, floors, and more. There's the SAS asset pack with around 100 pieces of art, as well as Torsten's asset pack, which also has another additional 260 pieces of art. All of this, once again, absolutely free from here on out. Not too shabby. If you purchased a license for Fantasy Grounds in the past, I think it's 30 days, they are going to refund that back to you. If you already had a license, like myself, they did offer up, gosh, it's about 20, maybe it's more than 20 additional mods from various different role-playing games. So there are some adventures, there are some optional rule sets. I thought it was a nice nod to folks out there who had already purchased Fantasy Grounds. It didn't even matter when, because I've had my license for years and years, but they still gave me access to that. And last thing I want to point out, this is also the Unity edition of Fantasy Grounds, because there were two different Fantasy Grounds. There was Standard, and then there was Unity, which I believe Unity is something that was aiming to be closer to like a Foundry than, say, a Roll20. Gotta say, pretty cool. I actually went and I reinstalled Fantasy Grounds so I can take a peek. Kevin R. Smith says, presumably you're still paying for the games and adventures. Yes, that is exactly it. So that is where they are still going to be making their profit. But I have to admit, kind of cool that, you know, because the license was $50. Granted, it was a lifetime license. It wasn't like you had to pay every month or anything like that. But I gotta say, it's kind of cool that, what is it? Smiteworks, I want to say, is the company that owns Fantasy Grounds, that they decided, hey, you know what? We are going to do this absolutely free. Let's see. DB and Kathy Evans have joined us in chat. Sean Mayer says they missed a couple of the shows. Was I on vacation? Yeah, I didn't really go anywhere. I took what I like to refer to as a hiatus for a week of no shows. So yes. So every quarter or so, I will do that so I can kind of recharge my batteries a little bit. It's one of the ways that I kind of prevent getting all burned out from doing so many videos and reading so many games and stuff. All right, on to our next news piece. Free League Publishing is now taking pre-orders for both The One Ring, Hands of the White Wizard, and The Lord of the Rings role-playing, Trials of Saruman. Here's what I know. He is great among the wise. He is the chief of my order and the head of the council. His knowledge is deep, but his pride has grown with it, and he takes ill any meddling. Set between 2965 and the opening moves of The Lord of the Ring, these adventures invite players to serve, observe, or challenge Saruman the White at the height of his wisdom and the edge of his corruption. Once a counselor to kings and master of ring lore, Saruman now rules from Isengard, a bastion of knowledge and power where the first cracks of pride begin to show. The treason, did I say Isengard? It is Isengard, not Isengard. It is Isengard. Yeah, for a second I was like, wait a second. Did I just mispronounce that? No, I didn't. The treason of Isengard has not yet begun, but its seeds are sown. The question is whether his downfall is inevitable, or if the courage of heroes can still change his fate and the fate of Middle-earth itself. Hands of the White Wizard and Trials of Saruman feature serve or spy. Decide whether your heroes will aid the White Wizard or uncover the secrets he keeps. 6 adventures across an era. Follow Saruman's path from counselor and scholar to would-be tyrant, spanning the years 2965 up to the War of the Ring. There is the lore of Isengard. Discover new allies, foes, and mysteries within Orthanc and the Valley of Nan Kuranir. Those, I guarantee, I mispronounced. Each volume will contain the same content statted for its particular system. So, right now, get ready. You can let your player's adventure in Isengard as the seeds of Saruman's betrayal are sown. The pre-order price for each of these books with PDF is $45.69. They will not ship until next year, although I do understand if you put your pre-order in, you will receive the PDFs. I don't know if you're going to get them immediately, but I believe they are done, so you will get the PDF rather quickly. So for those out there who were kind of concerned that we were not going to be seeing any more The One Ring or the Lord of the Rings role-playing releases, now you know. Now you know. All right, moving along. Splattered Ink Games is in the midst of a successful crowdfunding run for the Tome of Beasts Volume 1, acrylic token set, and beyond. Here's the lowdown. Beautifully illustrated top-down perspective. Every token in this collection has been crafted with an obsession attention to detail. Splattered Ink has poured thousands of hours into illustration, design, and refinement, and thrilled to finally share these with you. See your entire battlefield at a glance, with the unique bird's eye view artwork seamlessly integrated into any battle map. It's easier to plan tactics for any combat when you don't have to constantly change your perspective from horizontal to top down. Top down tokens just make more sense. From tiny half-inch pixies to gargantuan 4-inch dragons, every creature is sized right for standard grid play. There are even a few super gargantuan tokens when the artistic liberty is appropriate. In fact, the Terroresque is around 10 inches by 8 inches. Massive. There is a quick Kickstarter video to give you a better feel for these tokens. So let's give it a peek. This Kickstarter funded within minutes. Right now, it is over the 1,700% funding mark, probably a little closer to 1,800 by now. You can choose individual packs, which also includes virtual tabletop PNGs for a $78 pledge. You can get all 4 in the Tome of Beasts collection, also with those PNGs, for a $248 pledge through November 28th. You can also get the classic fantasy sets. I believe those are another 4 individual packs for, I'm trying to remember, I think it's $400, something like that. Now, something I should mention, the fine folks over at Splattered Ink Games were kind enough to send along a set of the classic fantasy acrylic tokens. I don't know if these are all of them, because of course I haven't popped this open yet. But we're going to be taking a peek at these on tomorrow's show. Even though I got an email telling me that I have the new Dungeons and Dragons books arriving tomorrow, I'll worry about those later. The fine folks over at Splattered Ink Games have been very, very nice. So I am going to share a first look at these tokens. Now, keep in mind, these are not the ones that are kickstarting for the first time. Those are the Tome of Beasts from Cobalt Press, of course. These are, I guess it's the RPG Essentials set is what it says. And we will dive on in. We will take a peek on tomorrow's show. Nice. Very, very cool. I like top-down acrylic tokens. In fact, with any sort of virtual tabletop, I always do top-down. I think it just looks better. I mean, it looks kind of silly when it's, you know, a top-down view of wherever they are, you know, the map. So Chris Lundgren is once again taking over chat with his Tears About Old School Essentials Classic Edition. He sent me a message on social media, and I mean, I could tell, I could see there were tears on his fingertips as he typed this message out, asking me what I thought about that. And I promised I would discuss it a little bit after the news before we jump on in and take a look at Darkenhaven from Gooey Cube. There's another crowdfunding project which looks really cool. This one's coming from Mongoose Publishing, and I've got the scoop on Pioneer. Set 10 to 20 years from today's world, the Pioneer tabletop role-playing game provides players with a grounded framework to explore the inner solar system. You'll be the first to build a moon base, the first to mine an asteroid, and the first to walk on the surface of Mars. Closer to Earth, you'll conduct rescues in low Earth orbit, launch or repair important satellites, and conduct scientific experiments that boost our understanding of the universe. If you're an avid fan of films and TV like Gravity, The Martian, or For All Mankind, this is the role-playing game for you. The Pioneer Core Rulebook is a standalone RPG containing everything you need to explore the solar system. Based on these celebrated traveler mechanics, you'll be able to create your own pioneers, configure spacecraft for specific missions, explore new worlds, and brave the extreme hazards of space as technology evolves, likely based upon your own discoveries. Mission Control contains at least a dozen missions ready for your pioneers to embark upon and push humanity's understanding of the cosmos. Engage in disputes over lunar territory, contend with fouled launches, investigate an extrasolar object, and begin the first steps in building the first permanent base on the moon. This is the big one. Are your pioneers ready to embark on the first crewed mission to Mars? Ares Ascendant is the first full-length campaign for Pioneer, ready for extended gaming sessions. Your pioneers will have to make sure they are well prepared before launch, for there is literally no going back. After a fraught transit to the Red Planet, they'll have to touch down, conduct experiments, and work hard to ensure they can return to Earth. There is a backer kit video, because this is on backer kit, not Kickstarter. It's about 3 minutes in length. It is going to show the designer of Pioneer. So let's give it a peek.
Hi, I'm Christopher Griffin, and I'm the main developer of Pioneer. Pioneer is based on the Traveler rules, but focuses on near-future space exploration. The players, the Pioneers, get to be the people to take the first steps and giant leaps of the next great space age. We wanted to enable you to tell a different type of story, one based on actual science and the real technology for space exploration, although albeit slightly into the future. The inspirations for the game are media like Gravity, For All Mankind, and The Martian. And also current events. We are in the midst of a new great age of space exploration, with many companies and agencies preparing for the next steps, exploring the asteroid belt, going to the moon, and eventually to Mars. Pioneer boils down the complexities of space exploration and space science without asking you to be an actual rocket scientist. You get to dive right into the missions and explore space and take on the risks of a real pioneer without any of the added complexity of it. The game was originally designed by Dr. Sandy Antunes, a former NASA engineer. And we believe that the foundation that Sandy built is going to enable you to have a truly unique role-playing experience. Everyone at Mongoose has worked very hard on this project, and we're very excited to bring you Pioneer. Thank you so much for supporting the Kickstarter. The rocket's on the pad and we're ready for launch.
Gotta say, Pioneer sounds pretty interesting. Now, of course, it's already funded. It is rapidly approaching the 400% funding mark. You can reserve a copy of the core rules as well as the referee's screen for a pledge of approximately $79. If you want to go all in and grab the Mission Control and Ares Ascendant hardcovers as well, you can do so for a pledge of approximately $119 through November 29th. Expected fulfillment for the digital items is going to be March 2026, and the physical items will follow in August of 2026. So there are some comments going back and forth in chat about this being Traveler 2050. Hey, you know, my review of 2300 AD is on the horizon. I gotta say, I'm kind of curious. As far as Pioneer goes, would you think that this is probably a game that you would make this a generational game? I gotta be honest, I did not watch the video. I didn't watch the designer talking about the game. I made sure that, there wasn't any music that was going to set off a copyright violation. But I'm kind of curious about that, because this would be more along the lines of hard science fiction. I don't think you're going to encounter any aliens in this. I don't know. I have no idea. At least, 2300 AD, there are aliens. So, Kevin R. Smith says, Mayday, this is SpaceX free trader Elon. Our engine blew out because it was poorly designed. Mayday. Chris Lennon says they prefer more realistic science fiction. This one looks interesting. Yes, more hard SF. Kevin King asks, but does it have Skittermanders? Yes. Very nice. Very nice. Final news piece. Atlas Games has teamed with Bundle of Holding to offer the 3rd edition of the Over the Edge role-playing game. Now I got the deets on the deal. Adventure. This all-new Over the Edge 3E bundle presents, well, you guessed it, the 3rd edition of Over the Edge, the tabletop role-playing game from Atlas Games, of fringe science and hyper-reality. Unleash wild conspiracies in the Edge, the main city of the anarchistic Atlantic island of Al-Amarja. Front line for the last war. The Edge is a sandbox playground of hidden cabals, secret agents, psychic psychopaths, evil spirits, curses, Akashic records, astral bodies, mind control satellites. I wonder if those satellites also start fires in California. Wildfires. Wonder. And subtle alien invasions out of William Burroughs, Philip K. Dick, and David Lynch. The Edge gives you what you won't find elsewhere: fashion, pharmaceuticals, art, science, body modification, and personal services. Head to the Edge to find everything you're looking for and lots of things you're not. Over the Edge is the cult classic role-playing game of counterculture, conspiracy, weird science, and urban danger. In this third edition, funded in a spectacular July 2018 Kickstarter campaign, the game roars back in a completely reimagined relaunch by its original creator, Jonathan Tweet. Everything old gets a new take. Nothing is a retread. Every conspiracy, every neighborhood, every major character gets a new spin. This reborn island will surprise new and existing players alike. Create story-forward characters with free-form traits and turn them loose with a 2d6 mechanic that keeps the action fast, risky, and borderline incredible. Every roll means something happens. Seriously good or seriously bad. One strike and you're out. But until then, you're riding the edge of possibility. For just $12.95, you'll get all 5 titles in the Edge Collection, which is a retail value of $50, as DRM-free PDFs, including the complete Over the Edge 3E rulebook, the Scenario Collection, Welcome to the Island, and 3 Sounds from the Edge suites of atmospheric music. These third edition titles are brand new to bundle of holding, and these savings will run through November 19th. I have heard about Over the Edge. I have never actually peeked at Over the Edge. I've always heard it's really weird. Maybe I'm wrong, but I heard it's pretty kind of, I don't want to say, I was going to say wacko, bizarre, I guess I'll say. Kind of a bizarre sort of role-playing game. Now, that doesn't mean it's bad. It could be pretty wild. I almost feel like it's got like a 1984-ish vibe to it. And again, once again, I've never actually seen it. It's just the vibe I get from it. Stray Kismet and Willona's Cave, as well as Spelling Mistake, are with us in chat. Welcome aboard. All right, so that is it for the news tonight. Interestingly enough, I never mentioned Drive-Thru RPG. But in case you forgot, Drive-Thru RPG is one of the ways that you could actually support the Gaming Gang outlet. That's right. So if you are going to visit Drive-Thru RPG or any of the One Bookshelf sites, by all means, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banners. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. There are also a couple of other ways that you can support the outlet. You can make a one-time donation by way of PayPal or become a monthly member of our Patreon. You will find links down in the show notes. Also in those show notes, you're going to find an invite link to our Discord server. It's absolutely free. Sign up, come hang with the gang over on Discord. All right. So, yes, Kevin King is mentioning the Outgun bundle. That is tomorrow's news. Already set up, all ready to go. But the Over the Edge bundle came out first. Another thing, if you're thinking of like Humble Bundle, there's a Pathfinder bundle going on, but it is Pathfinder Infinite. I have seen it kind of mentioned as, oh, it's Pathfinder Kingmaker. It's not. It is third-party content, and some of it has to do with the Kingmaker campaign. So I was like, I don't usually see bundles over on Humble Bundle misrepresented online. That was one. I've seen it mentioned a couple of times as if it were, oh, it's the Kingmaker Adventure Path for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. It's like, no, it's not. All righty. So, Tessie Trekkie says, Over the Edge is weird, but also contains themes that massively overlap into cult and God's Teeth territory. So it might not necessarily be my bag of tricks. Well, yes. All right. So Chris Lundgren mentioned this while I was doing the news, and I was just joking around, Chris. I always bust your chops for hijacking chat. It's like, yeah, we know you're going to do it. It's like, okay, what's it going to do this time? So yes, good old Necrotic Gnome revealed that their next print run for Old School Essentials is not going to include the Old School Essentials Classic Rules Tome. And I'm shocked it's taken this long to finally do that. I'll explain why. So, of course, Gavin Norman, I believe that's his name, the designer of both Old School Essentials as well as Dolmenwood, which I will tell you something about Dolmenwood in just a few moments. So he released the Classic Rules Tome. Well, actually, if I remember correctly, it was a box set that came out, and it was little hardcover books. So kind of along the lines of the original Dungeons and Dragons. Of course, those were softcover. These were, if I recall correctly, hardcover, but still, it was like a little box of little books. And it, pretty much cleaned up Basic Expert. Is kind of how I looked at it. Then put all of those together and released the Classic Rules Tome. Then we got Old School Essentials Advanced Fantasy broken into two books. One was the player book. The other was the referee's book. And then that also got a box set where it was all broken down into small individual books. So you're looking at five different ways. Well, 5 different releases for Old School Essentials when really all you need are 2. And it's Advanced Fantasy. And this is why I will explain why you only need the 2. You got to keep in mind, Old School Essentials, and I like Old School Essentials. The one knock I've got on Old School Essentials is it is not a role-playing game that I would introduce people to role-playing games with, because there is no, how does this thing work? It's just, here's the rules. Okay, oh, well, that was a little foggy in BX. Well, now it's crystal clear here. But that still doesn't provide a newcomer the additional content that we would see in Basic and Expert, even in Holmes D&D. You had the information about, okay, well, I know it's kind of silly to see it now, but what is a role-playing game? And then kind of walk you through like a little bit of a session, which we see with almost all role-playing games now. Sometimes we don't necessarily need it, but still. So none of that is in any of the Old School Essentials books, to my knowledge. Okay? So once again, Classic Tome, that's BX. Advanced is not Advanced Dungeons and Dragons cleaned up like the classic rules tome. It is stuff from Advanced Dungeons and Dragons ported over to classic rules. So by them releasing 2 books, which will essentially be advanced fantasy, although I think it'll expand a little bit on what's in advanced fantasy, you'll still get the classic rules. You will still get the classic rules tome plus the advanced fantasy, because that's kind of how it is with the advanced fantasy books already. Sean Mayer says they bought all the old school essentials stuff last spring. Wish they had known sooner. The books and boxes look good on their shelves anyway. Well, from my understanding, it's not like this is a new edition. Now, I could be wrong. I only read the posting that Gavin put up about like his plans for old school essentials in 2026. I know there are some folks out there who were kind of concerned that old school essentials was going to go bye-bye because of Dolmenwood being out. And I was like, no, that's not going to happen. Got too much stuff that's compatible with old school essentials. A lot of third-party stuff out there. People like put old school essentials stamps on it. Now, granted, if old school essentials did go out of print, then all that stuff would probably just shift gears and try to aim for the Shadow Dark crowd. But yeah, so there you go. W Forge also points out there's going to be a starter set for old school essentials. See, now that I would love to see. I would definitely love to see that, because I think that's where you're going to get that, hey, this is how you run this game. This is how you play the game. Doesn't have to be 50 pages in length. It can be, right, concise, to the point, like the rest of old school essentials is. So Kevin King says they liked OSC's presentation, ran some teenagers through a few games. They liked it as much as reading 80 pages of Excel docs. Damn, that's exciting. Yeah, my Savage Worlds, Pathfinder for Savage Worlds campaign is not going all that well either. So our second session of it just, I think the main thing is that 75% of the players at my table don't really know what a role-playing game, a tabletop role-playing game, is supposed to be. It's like I'll set the scene and then they just stare at me like, okay, what else? And it's like, no, you have to tell me what you're going to do. I don't know. Don't know what's going to happen with that. Let's see. So Kevin R. Smith says they're hearing the classic fantasy rules will be an appendix in the new printing, not part of the main text. There isn't really a change, though. I mean, like advanced fantasy, you've got the option. Do you want, race as class? So they give you a breakdown of, the various different races as classes, or you can do it like AD&D and have race and class separate. So I don't know. I like old school essentials. So Kevin R. Smith also points out, no, advanced fantasy is not 1E. It's 1E classes and ancestries adapted to the BX rules. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. And like I said, I like it. So as I mentioned, I was going to say something about Dolmenwood. Yes. My friends over at Exalted Funeral are sending that my way. I just got confirmation of the order. We'll be taking a look at Dolmenwood. Probably 2-3 weeks, because I notice it takes Exalted Funeral a while to get their stuff out. So there is that. Yes. All righty. So tonight we're going to be diving on in. We're going to be taking a look at Darkenhaven. I keep wanting to call it Darkenhaven from Gooey Cube. No, it's Darkenhaven from Gooey Cube in just a few moments. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission. Oh, and I will point out today's brief intermission is a little more violent, a little more bloody than we're used to. So just letting the more sensitive of you out there know.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
Have a Thanksgiving roast turkey feast at Beefsteak Charlie's for just $9.99 per adult, and kids eat free all day. Celebrate at Beefsteak Charlie's.
Right now, something incredible is happening at Bear. Because we're kicking off Christmas with a sale that runs round the clock until late Saturday night.
Christmas is coming, we're gonna get you hollering. Save and save.
Save on gifts 24 hours a day.
All day and night we'll be there.
All day, all night, till Saturday night.
We'd like to make sale your store.
Don't miss a single minute.
Make sale your store.
Unbeatable. Definition, impossible to beat, without equal. As in Eckerd's unbeatable sale. Prices impossible to beat, on sale without equal. This week, Lloyd's 13-inch color television has an unbeatable price of $179.99. Save on the Keystone 1030 disc camera, just $19.99. And selected Prince Bacciarelli gift sets are only $8.99 each. Eckerd's unbeatable sale. It's impossible to beat, so don't miss it.
I see you don't drink Wilkins instant coffee.
What about my future?
I hate to tell you, but you don't have a future.
This doesn't make any sense.
Might be something in the air. With the water.
Folks I've known all my life feuding with each other for no reason. People in this town don't go around using each other for target practice.
What the hell happened to this town? Freeway mister.
Doc, we think there's something wrong with the water.
Must be some kind of a weird experiment. One guy probably controlling a whole town with toxic chemicals. Warfare like that, you don't need nukes. Just a few men and a few major population centers to activate it. Fight. You want revenge, let me do it for you.
Did anybody ever hear that this is supposed to be a quiet town?
You know your film is in trouble when the best actor you've got on screen is George Kennedy. I think I've seen that movie. If I remember right, isn't it aliens? I think it's aliens that are poisoning the water. Yeah, I thought it was funny. Tessie Trekky's like, is this the Crazies? It sure as hell doesn't look like it. Pretty much the same storyline, though. Pretty close. Pretty damn close. So DB says, what about Wiggs Hauser? He's the boss. W. Forge says, this is why George Kennedy started making Naked Gun movies. Oh, hey, I got no beef with George Kennedy. But George Kennedy is just a particular style, and that's what you get. Kind of like most of Bruce Willis's roles. Like the last decade he was working. All pretty much the same. So, all right. Before we jump on into taking a look at Darkenhaven, I do want to give a big shout out to our Patreon members, as I tend to do on all of our live shows. So, big thank you to Gustavo Cavalho, Herman Lutman, Jason Lawman, Caval, Kevin R. Smith, Max Apocalypse, Sean O'Donnell, Talzek, Dan Webb, Game Cat, Kevin King, Pete Strakulich, RPG Munch, Tessie Trekkie, Tier 2 DM, as well as Agile Monk and the Madman. Stephen from Roll for Combat is with us, says George Kennedy's kind of like me, an acquired taste, as Stephen misspells acquired, but that's okay. I don't expect someone who's a RPG creative to know how to spell acquired. All right, so tonight we are going to be diving on in to take a peek at this massive city box set, Darkenhaven, which is for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons from Gooey Cube. This box appears to be absolutely overflowing with fantasy role-playing goodness. It's got books, player handouts, other materials. It normally carries an MSRP of $199. I believe right now it can be had for $175 over at Gooey Cube. And I should also mention, as a thank you to our viewers, our new friends over at Gooey Cube have set up a special reward. Anyone who spends $50 or more at their website can use the code TheGamingGang at checkout. It's all one word, The Gaming Gang. Normally it's 3, but here it's a promo code, so it's one word. You'll receive the Strangely Gooey Holiday, which is a $25 value, absolutely free. This is valid through the end of November. Do also want to mention we're going to be looking at some other Gooey Cube stuff because I was just loaded down with goodies by Lawrence McNabb of Gooey Cube over at Gamehole Con. All right, so let's swing on over to the other camera because here we go. Here is Darkenhaven. I should mention this part of the box was torn. The shrink wrap was all kind of torn up. That's why I got this review copy because the reality is you'll notice a lot of times I'll get a review copy of something and like if it's a book, it's kind of dinged on one of the corners and stuff. And I'm fine with that because the reality is I'd rather be sharing a review of it on something that's been damaged as opposed to somebody making a purchase and getting something that's damaged. That's how, like I said, that's how I look at it. All right. I'm going to read a little bit off the back, although this font is really small. Within the immense city box, you'll find the history and development of Darkenhaven, its prominent citizens and districts, its central role in the affairs of the Republic, its economy and important landmarks, its holidays and weather, and much, much more. Perched atop the imposing Black Shoal Cliffs, overlooking the glittering waters of Dark Silver Bay, lies the wondrous metropolis of Darkenhaven, capital of the Republic of Cyranthia. I think that's it. Cyranthia? Yeah. Probably close. And one of the great cities in the world of Zyth. Hey, actually, it's not as bad as some. So it's like, oh, look, there's 17 syllables to this. Okay, all right. Serving as the beating heart of West Verdesia for many centuries, Darkenhaven's unique position has attracted travelers and settlers from across the world, creating a truly cosmopolitan hub of trade, knowledge, and culture. The streets are filled to the brim with mysteries, localities, bizarre individuals, and perilous dangers. And I bet you those streets don't know your name either. Da-dum-bumps. Whether players need to track down rare materials, seek out lore from a wizened sage, stop an assassin before they can eliminate a prominent noble, or simply find a new tavern where they can spend their evenings, even seasoned veterans can spend years here. So we got some features, breakdown of what's in here. But what we're going to do is so I'm going to take a guess that this does not belong with this box. This looks like this is something that's standalone. That's weird. I wonder if the shrink wrap was torn because somebody was trying to leak this into it. Now, or maybe Lawrence McNabb put it in there to save some space. That's kind of wild. I believe I've got another adventure that's kind of standalone. Maybe we'll take a look at both of those on a future show. All right, this box has got to weigh 10, 11 pounds. Something gooey this way comes. All right. Move that out of the way here. So we have our character portraits, numbers 1 through 54. Special item cards. More character portraits, 55 through 108. And Gooey rewards. Okay, so we'll take a look at those in just a few moments. Read this first. So this is telling us that Volume 1 is a deep dive into the lore and history of the city. Volume 2 is a breakdown of the city's wards, full of juicy intrigue and locales that coordinate with the epic city map. It's so big it had to be broken into 2 parts. Volume 3 is a collection of encounters and other bits you can place right into your adventures. So it's talking about to avoid information overload, kind of giving us a walkthrough of how you should probably approach this. What to take a peek at first. All right, so here we got some cheat sheets. NBC sheets, foreign ambassadors, the Xyanthric Circle, organizations, notable people. It's like quite a few of those. Darkenhaven University, and the police and military. So it's telling us what race they are, what gender they are, what their position is, if there's some notes, and if they have a portrait, what number portrait. Oh, so the deepest fear does come with the box. It just doesn't fit inside. Holy cow. Okay, well, we'll be taking a look at this too. A few things I want to point out before we get too deep into the weeds with this. First of all, our new friends over at Gooey Cube were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the gaming gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this first look with you. It's very important you know that. Obviously, we are not going to look at each and every page of these books. We're not going to look at each and every portrait of the characters, but I do want to give you a really good feel for what you're going to find inside. And then, of course, I would take a guess. If you're a player, we are going to encounter some things which will ruin some surprises. So I'm just letting you know ahead of time that we're probably going to stumble across some things that will ruin some of the surprises contained within. So first thing I see is this is ring bound, which means, oh, look, we're at the game table. I'll just open that on up. I think that's pretty cool. I like that. Now, does that mean this will hold up as well as a hardcover? Not maybe necessarily. Although the reality is, all depends on the binding. I mean, I've seen some hardcovers that binding was awful. They fell apart like that. So, all right. So let's take a peek here. So we're going to start off. Where's our credits page? Is it at the back? Here's our open game license. Don't see it. We'll try to find credits here so we can make sure we give credit where credit is due. Of course, I will have a review of this box set in the future. I can't say the near future because look at the size of this thing. All right. So that is an overview with a prologue. Here we go. Here's our credit page. Just say there's got to be a credits page. Lots of folks worked on this. And I believe this may have crowdfunded. It's talking about to our Stead Force supporters and backers. Welcome to the Darkenhaven Tome of Lore. I keep telling you, I just want to say Darkenheim. Don't know why. Captain Finity, Time Travel Police, is with us in chat. Welcome to the Darkenhaven Tome of Lore. This volume lays out the city's cultural foundations, historical events, important people and organizations, and more. All to help you as the game master understand what makes this city unique from others in the world of Zayath. I'm sure that's not even close to the correct pronunciation. It also provides you with much of the background you will need to run this most marvelous metropole, whether it be placed in the world of or in your own. I'm going to take a guess it's Zayathe. We get a speech talking about the train in geology. Once again, I will be skipping pages here. So it looks like this is a timeline. Yep, there you go. So we've got the history. I'm going to tell you right now, you are certainly not getting cheated with content. I mean, there is artwork, but it's, well, I got to say, past 15 years, especially last 10 years, companies have gotten away from the, oh, let's just plaster artwork all over the place so you get hardly any gameable content. But yeah, this, I got to say, this is pretty impressive so far. Okay, symbols of the city. We have the crest. We've got the motto is perseverance, diligence, and hope. We have a mascot. It's the dark silver prion. It's a bird known for its remarkable role in the defense of Darkenhaven against the Aurak warlord Dolgra Khan in 1010 SC. I thought maybe we get a picture of the bird. Historical relics and landmarks, the culture. I would think this would appeal to the folks out there who really enjoy Harn from Columbia Games, Harn World. So it looks like this is going to get into a good amount of detail about the inner workings of this city. I did ask Lawrence when I talked to him at Gamehole Con if they utilized any AI artwork. I was told they do not. So if you're seeing some of this art and you're thinking, because I know some of the art here and these character portraits. Now, there's a big difference between being digital artwork and being AI generated artwork. Kevin King says, looks like this city has an underbelly like Waterdeep Skullport called Gloomport. Separate box. You know, it's kind of funny. I'll share the story real quick. I talked about it when I did my kind of recap of Gamehole Con. I was there Saturday. I was by myself because my nephew Cameron had come out for Thursday and Friday, but then he had to work. So he went back to, the Chicago suburbs on late Friday night. So Saturday, I kind of kicked around, do I want to go? I mean, I was like, yeah, why not? And it was funny because I talked to so many people when I went on Saturday, and one of the people I actually talked to was Lawrence over at Gooey Cube. And that's when he sent me on my way with this mess, two big bags full of Gooey Cube goodness. And it's kind of funny if I just sat there and been like, nah, I'm just going to hang around the hotel room, maybe drink a few beers. It'd be like, yep. W. Ford says this reminds him a little bit of Tullis, Monte Cook City setting in terms of depth. Yeah, I know that is a monster book. I think, didn't they convert that over to Numenera not too long ago? I could have swore they did a Kickstarter to do that. Magical institutions in Darkenhaven. In the Republic, while more freedom is allowed regarding magic compared to other nations, those who practice magic still often face suspicion from the common folk. The government seeks to maintain a certain level of control over the usage of magic, requiring institutions that teach magic to be licensed, as well as individual teachers. The Xianthic Circle serves as trusted consultants for the Republic, overseeing and regulating these magical institutions. Kevin R. Smith says, yes, they converted it to Cypher. Yeah. So essentially, Numenera and 5e. Here we have religion, religious politics, law and disorder, fortifications, money and economy. And we have some family crests. I think that's how we're going to wrap up. Yep. All right. So that is the first volume. Legends, lore, and historical accounts. Our next book, also with the ring binding, is Localities and Landmarks, Part 1. Remember, it's broken up into 2 books. So, right. So here we've got the credits page again. So we've got a guide to the maps Huh. Okay. So we have Bayweather. So it looks like we'll get a background, get some information about the sorts of people who live in that area, a history, get some neighborhoods. I'm taking a guess that some of this artwork, some of the character art could be crowdfunding backers. So it looks like this is giving us just a breakdown of the, I shouldn't say just, it's a breakdown of the different areas. So we have Cobbleston. Cobbleston, or Wester Square, as some call it, is ironically the easternmost of the three oldest wards of, keep wanting to say Darkenhaven. Darkenhaven. Historians conjecture that its nickname stems from early residents of Fishertown, for whom its main square, now referred to as the Common Goal, was to the west of their home settlement in the Maestrin. According to local folklore, the ward has been a magnet for skilled crafters and tradesfolk since its founding, only a few short decades following the woe of ruin. Sean O'Donnell says, English, Jeff. It's still English. I'm just calling it by the wrong name. Like I said, I don't know why that's stuck in my head. I'm surprised I haven't referred to this as that more often so far. All right. So then we get into the locations. I would say that the artwork that we've seen so far, not a lot of action shots. Quite a bit of static images or images of individuals, which is fine. Here's Fishertown. Residents of other wards often call this ward Fishgut due to its lingering odors and the sense of superiority they feel toward its inhabitants. Yeah, you know what? Kevin R. Smith is pointing out the Kickstarter that's going out for Daggerheart. I bet you that's why that's stuck in my head. Godsward. The most striking feature as newcomers enter the Godsward is the austere expanse of stone ahead of them. The second is the sheer magnificence of the temples. This duality is a common theme in the protective wall surrounding the consecrated land. Digging deeper would expose the same contrast between the catacombs under many streets and temples and the sanctity of life shown by many of the resident clerics and other holy servants. Also seen in the fervor with which sermons are given in the temple against the quieter dignity those passing through the district tend to uphold. This seems pretty well written also. Kevin King said they're starting to get a Harry Potter vibe. Kevin R. Smith said, lots of nice setting detail. So Governor's Isle, is that going to be a prison? Maybe not. So this is going to be about 125 pages. Yep. A brief intermission. Hey, we share something in common. Okay. Now, this third book, this one seems to be even a little, maybe a little thicker. This is a not so brief guide to the wards and neighborhoods of the capital, just like the other volume showed. So this looks like this is probably going to be very, very similar at least in its layout, as the book we just looked at, because this is more of the various different areas here. Yep, talking about a guide to the maps. Once again, yep. So we're going to get each of these different areas with their background, society, history, important locations. The High Garden shops, I would take guess is probably, High Garden's probably where nobility lives, the movers and shakers. Two things stand out to new visitors of High Garden shops: the flagrant display of luxury items for sale and the vast, immaculate landscaping. Both clearly indicate precisely which customers the establishments cater to, the wealthy residents of High Garden. Well, there you go. There's our answer. The Five Flags, is that an amusement park? Yeah, it's Five Flags over in Darkenhaven. Oh, that's pretty cool. This might be an area where that magical council hangs out. Got Riverside. Looks like this is a rather well-off area as well. I'll tell you what, if you are into urban adventures or your fantasy role-playing games, this is probably something you're going to want to take a peek at. Something else I can tell you as we're flipping on through here, even though this is for 5e Dungeons and Dragons, I'm really not seeing anything which is going to tie it directly into only being able to use it for D&D. I mean, I'm not seeing stat blocks for stuff. It's all informational. So here's some intriguing locations. And so much more. Because here we got our fourth book. This is going to be our GM reference book. And then we have got, I can't believe just how packed this is, GM map pack. And then we have floor plans. Wow. I know some people out there probably balked a bit when they heard price tag, the MSRP of $199, and right now you can get for $175, but holy cow. It's like, look at what's in this. Oh, bump something there. Hold on one moment. There we go. All right. So take a look inside this. So we have Game Mastering the City, the Not So Random Encounters table, GUI additions. That's something else I understand, that there are some rules that are like for Gooey Cube releases for 5e. So there are some optional rules that are involved. NPCs, items, mundane treasures, rumors, and secrets. So this is where we're going to start getting into our adventuring. A City Sandbox campaign offers a unique and thrilling experience for both the game master and players alike. The freedom for the PCs to explore a vast urban landscape with no predetermined objectives or paths to follow can create an intense and immersive gaming experience. However, this type of game can also be challenging for the GM. Yeah, you're not kidding. Who must be prepared to handle the illusion of choice and potential mandatory plot elements that may arise during gameplay. In this style of campaign, players have the liberty to go wherever they like and do whatever they want, with the GM acting as a guide rather than a strict narrator. While this may seem like an ideal scenario for players to indulge their imagination, it can also lead to confusion, frustration, and boredom if the GM does not have a clear plan of action. All right, nice. So that's kind of giving you some background there. Yeah, so this is where we're going to get our stat blocks for 5e, as Kevin R. Smith is pointing out. But yeah, for the most part, we're still looking at all this stuff here is system agnostic. So this is giving us ideas for different encounters. So, and they actually are broke down non-lethal, potentially lethal, and lethal. So as an example, we have the scepter capture. The adventurers receive a summons from Hila Ambrecht, the Lord Mayor of Darkenhaven. Gives us our portrait number 4. Requesting their assistance with a delicate matter, the mayor explains that a priceless artifact, the Scepter of the Grey Emperor, has been stolen from the castle's museum. The scepter was on loan to the museum from the private collection of the Entelier estate and is of immense historical and cultural significance. Oh, was it at the Louvre? Got ripped off from the Louvre? Okay. It's also rumored to hold magical powers of some kind, though nobody has activated it since his death. So it's giving us a breakdown of how to create the encounter. That's cool. I like that. We have a plot of murder. One of the PCs might overhear a discussion about a plot to kill an unsuspecting official. And then it gives us some options of various different people, including the mayor. I like this. I say that's pretty unique. So if the players are, dead set on hanging out in one particular area of the city, this gives you an opportunity to create some cool encounters and, of course, expand upon that. So here's a Gooey encounter table with interesting events, dangerous occurrences. And get into story plots. There's inserting your own plots, different themes, random NPC name tables. All right. And it's based on the heritage, race, whatever you want to consider it, species. And we get into items, item card numbers for those. Adventuring gear. So we have the adventuring packs. It's kind of cool. It's kind of broken down into different areas of the city too. These look like these are magical items, like Mira's magical hat. It's a wondrous item. And it is an artifact. We got mundane treasure. Random table D100. It's like we got some rumors here. I think this is how we're going to wrap up. Oh, make money easy. One of the great things about a massive city like Darkenhaven, at least from a player character's perspective, is all the opportunities to spend their hard-earned, if sometimes questionably sourced, wealth on new weapons, armor, potions, maybe even a few magic items. Not to mention carousing through the taverns, soaking in the baths, betting on gladiatorial bouts in the Colosseum, and generally enjoying the good life After months of living hard in dungeons, we're out in the wilderness. So it looks as if it's trying to make the whole concept of cash a little bit easier. Kevin King said, looks like this is years worth of content, especially if you expand out those adventure hooks. Yeah. So battle stats table. So it looks like here are our stat blocks for some of those encounters. All right. So that is volume 3. Jeez. All right. So I want to say that's the end of the it's the end of the ring-bound books, but we still have adventure handouts, floor plans, the GM map pack, the deepest fear that would not even fit into the box. Let's take a look at some of these cards. So these are Gooey rewards. Silver-tongued, dark vision, lightning reflexes. Guess these are for the characters. Almost surrounded. Advantage on initiative roll. Paper stock's pretty thin on these. So I would say sleeve those if you have an opportunity. Yes, I still have a little bit of that congestion from the con crud I had picked up. It's almost all gone, but I'm coughing a little bit. Right, special item cards. These are numbered. These are different packs. These are different packs we were just taking a look at. Oh, a cursed sword. Cloak of the Night Hunter. And of course, you get our info there. I will say the font's pretty small on these. Would like to have seen the font a little bit bigger, especially since there's so much empty space on the card. Easily make that font quite a lot larger. It looks like, well, some of them are kind of full. All right. So those are just some of the special item cards. Let's take a peek at some of the character portraits. Ta-da! Like I said, I sort of have the feeling that some of these character portraits, some of these NPCs were backers, crowdfunding backers, pledged at a certain level so that their image would be included. I'm getting a feeling that's what it is. All right. Then again, I mean, I could be absolutely wrong. Kevin's pointing out, Kevin R. King, one annoying thing is the included adventure is for mid-level characters. So you have to come up with your own intro adventure to the setting if you want to start first to third level. You know, it's kind of funny. When I took a peek at that, I thought kind of the same thing. It's like, I'm kind of surprised it's a higher level, well, higher than an intro adventure. But that was a little bit strange. All right, so that was just a peek at some of the character portraits. See, I wish this stuff was in a bag, right? If those were in a baggie, because this is a map pack, so we're gonna have all these different maps in here. Otherwise, they'll just be kind of like floating around loose in the box. Well, it's got kind of a, well, maybe that'll help. Right, so they're single-sided maps. So this is a breakdown of the city here. Pretty cool. Now, I think these maps are... Yeah. I was going to say, thought I felt some of them were more than just single sheet. Looks like there's the Colosseum. Artwork's pretty cool. I like the artwork. I can certainly see this working really nicely with virtual tabletop. Although I don't know if Gooey Cube has stuff for like Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds, Foundry. So I'm going to take a guess that some of the single page maps are actually going to be like zooming in, like on this area right here. So it looks like we got 4. It looks like we got a pretty big poster size map. All right, so this is 3rd. Looks like we got some farmland out there. Yeah, so quite a lot of these. I'm trying not to get these out of order. So, all right. And then I think this is the big map. Oh no, I'm sorry. That was the folder here. Try to keep them in. Okay. And then we have a city key. That's cool. That's talking about each of the neighborhoods. The code is for each of the neighborhoods. What page you'll find these on. That's cool. I like that. Okay. That was the map pack. We've got the floor plans pack. I wonder, I doubt if these are going to be like a grid. I could be wrong. Agile Monk has joined us in chat asking, so what do we all think so far? I got to say, just the sheer amount of content in here, I'm impressed. Okay. Once again, we're not going to look at a bunch of these. Oh, wow. They are gridded. They are set on a grid. Hey, an Agile Monk with a $1.99 super chat. Okay. They do have a scale in feet, but they do not have grids, which is fine. I mentioned when we first started taking a peek here that this also includes the PDFs. So you will get all of this in digital as well, which means you would, of course, you would have to actually put the grids on these maps, but you could use them with virtual tabletops. Look really nice. I think we're going to get another little book too to tell us where each of these is located. Maybe not. Nope. I misled you. And then this here, it's like it's an abandoned house. And then we've got the adventure handouts. I knew this was going to be a super long episode tonight. I knew it because just picking up this box is heavy. I figured, wow, we had a lot of stuff to peek at. All right. And then this is the adventure. So you know what we'll do? We'll put this off to the side. Take a peek at this adventure, because this is going to give us an idea of how the Gooey Cube adventures are laid out too. Because I have some adventure collections that are box sets we're going to be taking a peek at. And then I want to say that I have one other like adventure like this that was shrink wrapped like this. So this is for levels 6 through 9. Oh, interesting. I was going to say, I felt there's something going on here. So we've got a tourist guide to the streets of Darkenhaven. I know I said Darkenheim, didn't I, before? That's pretty wild. So this is for players. That's pretty cool. Okay, and then we have handouts. So it looks as if we actually some point of view handouts here. Then we have some battle maps. We have some individuals here. We have some cards. Okay. So here's a reference book. Take a look at the adventure itself. Once again, here's our credits page. This short prequel adventure is merely the opening act to an incredible adventure through the streets of Darkenhaven. Through these tales, your players will explore from the city's grimy underbelly to the heights of its greatest halls of magical education before following a trail of breadcrumbs down into the gloom port where shadowed figures conspire to bring strife to the city. So we have some notes for the game master as far as running this adventure. Can be broken up into parts. Part 1 is the reformed criminal, the mean streets of the burg, attack on warehouse 12, Nagelboffen. Agile Monk said, Jeff, you misled us? Never. No, I try not to. And we have the aftermath. So this is actually a relatively short adventure, but it's got all these extras to it. That's really wild. That's why this thing was so thick. And then we have explored the Mornwood collection. Well, guess what, gang? We are going to be exploring the Mornwood collection because that is another of the box sets that I have from our new friends over at Gooey Cube. All right, so here's adventure handouts. I wonder if these are for all of the different encounters that we had. All right, so here's more point of view. That's so cool. I like that. Especially for players who really don't have any sort of point of reference. I was kind of talking about this, kind of touching on this earlier when I said my Pathfinder for Savage Worlds campaign, and I kind of set the scene and then everybody just stares at me. They're not necessarily proactive. And I think part of that too is that they don't have a point of reference. So I wonder if these are going to be, I think some of them are for the adventure because we had that. So this looks like a bunch of halflings attacking. I gotta say, gang, I am mighty, mighty impressed by this. Of course, got to read through it and see, what I think about that. But I got to say, this pretty much is blowing away anything we're seeing from like Wizards of the Coast. Says Agile Monk with another super chat, this time for $10. Says, okay, total confession. I supported this when they first launched, and here's an absolute truth statement where it says, and so much more on the side of the box. The Gooey folks were not exaggerating. That is for certain. They were not. Sadly enough, we don't have like a little folder to keep this in. That's okay. I'll make sure to put this like on the bottom of the box. All right, everybody. So we've got the adventure handouts. Got the GM map pack. We have got the kind of like cheat sheets for the GM for the different locales. We have, well, I'll keep the adventures separate because it didn't fit in the box anyway. We have the floor plans pack. We have volume 3. Which is the reference book. We have part 2 of volume 2, which is our guide to the wards and neighborhoods of Darkenhaven. And then here is the first part of that. And then we also have the legends, lore, and historical accounts of Darkenhaven. You read this first, which I only read a little bit of. Character portraits with 108 in total. We also have the Gooey rewards and the special item cards. I want to say that is it. I believe so. All right. Is this box going to even close? Yeah, barely. Barely. Jeez. I don't want to tear the box up. There we go. Ugh. All right. That is a look inside Darkenhaven for 5e Dungeons and Dragons from Gooey Cube. This box set is still available. I got to be honest, I don't think there are many left. I think there are only a handful of these still available. You can get it over at gooeycube.com for $175. Normally the MSRP is $199. And of course, once again, if you tuned in a little bit late, our new friends over at Gooey Cube have a thank you to the Gaming Gang Dispatch viewers for a special reward. Anyone who spends $50 or more on their website can use the code TheGamingGang, all one word, at checkout. You will receive Strangely Gooey Holiday absolutely free. It is normally a $25 value, and this offer is valid through the end of November. I will also include this information in the show notes. Sean Mayer says, it's really impressive. Kevin King said, high price, but looks like you get your money's worth at least. Agile Monk also points out the Gooey folks are all in Colorado. Are some fantastic folks. Yes, I had a great time talking with Lawrence McNabb, and Lawrence was kind enough to give the Gaming Gang viewers a reward. You can get Strangely Gooey Holiday absolutely free. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Wow. I'm just blown away by how much stuff is in this box. Yep, I'll be reading that for a while. And Agile Monk also with another super chat. To all the veterans, thank you for your service. Love and blessings to them all. Yep, I wished everybody earlier a happy Veterans Day. Certainly appreciate everyone's service. I never say thank you for your service to any member of the military because the members of the military that I know have told me how much they hate that, because the reality is most people don't really give a shit. So I always say something a little bit different. So it's not just I'm not saying anything about Agile Monk, but I'm just saying, you'll see people like, oh, thank you for your service. And it's like, yeah, right. All right. So what's cooking the rest of this week? It is actually Kobold Press Week. Another Kobold Press Week here at the Gaming Gang. So I've already shared a couple of first look videos, one for Tales of the Valiant Book of Blades, as well as Dungeons Deep, which is actually right behind me, which is for Tales of the Valiant. If it's for Tales of the Valiant, it's also usable for D&D and other 5e games as well. So Agile Monk says, yes, as a long-term veteran, it's how most of them feel. Troy Cornelson has popped on in. Good to see you, Troy. So we've got that. And then on Thursday, we're going to take a look at Riverbank, the new role-playing game from our friends over at Kobold Press. And then this weekend, I will have a review of Monster Vault 2 for Tales of the Valiant. And I mentioned this earlier, tomorrow we're going to take a look at the RPG Essentials acrylic token set from Splattered Ink Games. I did mention they've got a Kickstarter going on right now for acrylic tokens for Tome of Beasts Volume 1 from Kobold Press. You can also pick up some, because I think these are the classic fantasy in here as well. And this is another very hefty box. So we're going to take a peek at that. Kevin King says, Tales of the Valiant's more like 5e than Dungeons and Dragons 2024, or as I like to refer to it, new Dungeons and Dragons. As I also mentioned, if you tuned in late, I have the new D&D books arriving tomorrow. I think I'm just going to share like standalone videos. I don't think I'm going to do them live. I think I'm just going to do like first looks. So we are going to take a peek at this tomorrow, even though the new D&D books are arriving. So there. It's not something, it's got nothing to do with Wizards of the Coast. It's just, I got to be honest, I don't think a lot of people like the live first looks on the new D&D releases. So I think I'll just do it like a 20-minute first look video, put it out there separately. Because I think a lot of the D&D folks who pop on in, they don't like the news beforehand. They don't like the chat and stuff like that. So no biggie. It's okay. All righty. So that is it for this time out. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. If you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell because it's supposed to notify you. I know it doesn't always, but it's supposed to notify you when I share other videos, not just when the Dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. It's supposed to let you know when I share videos such as my first look at Dungeons Deep from Kobold Press. So there's that. If you watch live, thank you very much. If you watch live and took part in chat, tip of the cap to you, because not only are you keeping me company, you're also keeping each other company while I'm sharing the news or flipping through dozens of role-play game books in a box. I know. It was 4. I am getting a thank you for the review. Got to point out, that is not a review. That is a first look. In fact, I had somebody leave a really rude comment on one of my first look videos talking about it was the worst review they had ever seen. And there's no indication that that video is a review. It's, even the title says it's a first look at whatever. The show notes say this is a first look at such and such. So just want to make sure that you do understand, we did not just do a review. That was a first look. Can't do a review of something if it's the first time I've ever seen it. You could call it an overview. So, yes, Agile Mug says there's a huge difference between a first look and an actual review. We all know this. Not everybody out there knows that. Because what they do is they type into YouTube search and they say XYZ review, and one of the videos pops up. And they watch it and they're like, well, what the hell? Review sucked. Never take a look to see that even the title of it says it's a first look. Bradley Thorpe is with us, said, wanted to let me know they did their first D&D game as a dungeon master last night. They ran Tomb of Annihilation. Funny enough, with Fantasy Grounds going free now, I have kind of considered maybe running some D&D, and it would either be Tomb of Annihilation or The Wild Beyond the Witchlight, which I would run. Sean Mayer says, yeah, they saw that comment and it was rude. So I commented back. I wasn't a complete asshole, but I was not like, oh, hey. That's why I said, hey, the only person who thinks that's a review is you. Because there's no indication it's a review. Anyway, hopefully Bradley Thorpe had a good time with his gang. Very nice. Yeah. Tomb of Annihilation is a very, very solid 5e campaign. So not like some of the stuff that came after it. Or some of the stuff that came before it too. Wasn't exactly all that great. I am still not a fan of the, what the hell is it? Destiny of Dragons or whatever the hell it was. To start off 5e, I'm like, it's like just fetch quests, fetch quests, fetch quests. Troy Cornelson said they're running Tomb of Annihilation right now. Sweet. Very cool. All right, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. Of course, I will be back tomorrow. As I mentioned, we are going to take a look at those acrylic tokens from Splattered Ink Games. Ooh-hoo-hoo. Thanks for watching. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer, and I certainly hope each and every one of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.